Come up with, which is always exciting to do. But I am happy to be here, so I will get started. We're going to be in Genesis 1. If you want to be turning, it's at the very beginning of the Bible. It's always hard for me to decide what I want to preach about or talk about when I come here. I know some classes use the same Sunday school material that we use in our class, so I can't steal a lesson from it, turn it into a sermon, so I've got to kind of come up with something different. But we're going to be in Genesis 1, and kind of the line to kick it off is, what a week. And I'm not talking about the week that I had with, 3 baseball practices, a dance practice, opening day of baseball, and a million other things going on, but the week that God created the entire earth. When He spent 6 days making and creating and giving us all that we had before us, and then on the 7th day, He finally decided that it was time for Him to relax. It's something that we all need to do as well. I'm the world's worst probably at doing it, but I'm going to read verses 20 through 26 if you want to follow along with me. I call this my preacher Bible. I actually prefer an ESV version, but my daddy had this Bible and it was large print. It's New King James, but when I hold it up here, I feel like I kind of look like Tommy, so I'm like, they're going to take me serious this week because this is a big Bible. But in verse 20 it says, "Then God said, let the waters abound with an abundance of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the face of the firmament of the heavens. So God created great sea creatures and every living thing that moves, with which the waters abounded, according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth. So the evening and the morning were the 5th day. Then God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature according to its kind, cattle and creeping thing and beasts of the earth, each according to its kind. And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth according to its kind, cattle according to its kind, and everything that creeps on the earth according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." Let me pray and then we'll get going. Dear Heavenly Father, God, I thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to share your word today. God, I pray that you would be with me as I attempt to deliver this message. Lord, be with each person listening. God, thank you for giving them the safety and the ability to be able to be here today. I just pray that you be with us for this next few minutes. In your Son Jesus' name we pray. Amen. This passage starts off with saying, then God said. And we could stay there for a while, but I'm going to hit it and then kind of keep moving on. But it's the important takeaway here is that God is the one speaking. It's not the critic that counts. We all have somebody who wants to criticize us and tell us what we should have done better, what we could have done different. But when our Creator is the one talking, that's the one that we need to listen to. That's who we need to be worried about what He has to say. So we start out with, then God said. And as we read on down, there were several times in the passages where it'll remind us that, and God saw. So we start with what God said, and then we get to what God saw. What's tough for us is that we're living in the middle. We don't get to see the finished project. I was talking to somebody a few minutes ago, and we don't know what our life's going to look like in 5 years, 10 years, 50 years. But we've got to work on it day by day. We see where we're starting. We know where we want to get to, but we've got to keep working all the way through the middle. And if we think back on the creation story, God did save the best for last. That's when He made you and me. He saved us for His grand finale. Maybe everything else was the rough draft. Probably why women came after men. But if we look back one day at the 5th day, there's something we can take from that 5th day principle. And day 5 doesn't get a whole lot of glory. We think about it first when God made light, when He made earth, but we don't look at the birds and the fish a whole lot. So if we look at the 5th day, there's some stuff that we can take from the fish and the birds. And if I had to title this message, it would be, move in what you're made for. And I wish that I could stand up here and say to everybody, this is something that'll help you with some area of your life that you may be insecure with. And I hope that it does, but honestly, it's to help me, and it's why I kind of chosen it, was to help me with areas of my life that I'm insecure with, or that I might be struggling with. It doesn't make me extremely nervous to get up here and talk to a group of people. If Trey was sick and y'all handed me a microphone and told me to sing, would not happen. That's not my thing. Can't do it. But it's, we all struggle with something. So if let's look at the process for how God designed the earth, how he created it, what he did, and let's see how we can apply it to our lives today. This message is not going to be about if those 6 days were 24-hour periods or if they represent a longer period. It's not going to be about species and kinds and how they fit so many animals on the ark. I'm not a scientist. I don't know. So I'm going to just try to apply it to our daily life. We're going to look at how God made us, try to use that pattern and see how we can use it daily. So when God speaks to us, it goes a whole lot deeper than surface level. A lot of times you can get advice, and if it's very general advice, whether it's, fitness advice that you can go look up on the internet, financial advice, even spiritual advice, a lot of the advice we get is good advice, but it may be based on bad data. Because if they don't know exactly what's going on in your life, if they don't know all the pieces to the story, it's still not going to be 100% accurate. I was on a call the other day with somebody, and we were talking about some problems and some things going on. They asked a ton of questions literally for the first 10 minutes before they offered the first piece of advice. Because they had to understand what was happening. They had to see what was going on. And when God starts talking to us about our problems, he's not dealing with the symptom. He can go straight to the root. He already knows what we're dealing with. He knows what we're facing. So whenever he starts getting to those root causes, we're going to be able to get a lot further into getting real solutions. So we skip on to day 5. We're going to skip the first 4, like I said. We're going to be on day 5. Day 5 is where God started doing something different. He did not do this when he hung the moon, when he made the stars. On day 5, he went different. In verse 22, it says, and God blessed them. Day 5 is where he started blessing things. All of his created creatures are blessed. So how many people in here today are alive? Okay. If your neighbor did not raise their hand, poke them. Let's make sure we're all good. If you are alive, you are blessed. Maybe it has been a tough week. Maybe you have had so many things going on, too many appointments to keep. Maybe you are dealing with some stuff right now. But if you are here, if you had the ability, and like one friend said this week, if your feet are still on the ground, you're blessed. God did not bless the land, the crops, the stars. He blessed his living creatures. Up to this point, everything that God's brought into his existence, he merely spoke it. He would say it and it would happen. But when he started getting to us, he got right in there with it and started assembling it and putting us together himself. Psalm 139 is one of the most beautiful passages about how we're created and knitted together. But God took the time to make us by hand. And if you've ever bought anything that was handcrafted, I've learned that apparently that's just code for a lot more expensive. But when we are handcrafted, we're a lot more valuable. Somebody cared enough to take the time to personalize us, to make us exactly what we needed to be. And, all of us, again, I keep getting stuck, I guess, on critics or haters, but if there's anybody there who has criticized you or hated on you a little bit, just remember that whatever God blessed, no man can curse. They may have something to say, but they can't curse you. They can run their mouth. That's probably not the right way to say it in a sermon, but they can say what they want, but they can't curse you. If God's blessed you, you're going to follow him. You're going to be good. Now, it does not mean that everybody's going to like you. I shared part of this with somebody this week, but if you want everybody to like you, it's not going to happen. Everybody didn't like Jesus. We think it's crazy because we all love Jesus. That's why we're at church. But if everybody had liked Jesus, he wouldn't have been crucified. If he hadn't been crucified, he would not have filled the purpose that he came here to do. We'd all be in a whole lot worse situation if that had not happened. So is God using your life right now? The messiness, the people who don't like you, everything going on to create and to bring about faith. Because that's how it started in Genesis 1. I wrote this quote down. It says, as God reveals your assignment, it will cause your insecurities to surface. As you take the next step into whatever it is in your life, whether it's in business, whether it's in family. I remember when we got married, I didn't know how to be a husband. When we have kids, I didn't know how to be a father. Probably still don't. Y'all can tell how my kids act. But the next level you take in anything is going to be tough. It's going to be trivial. It's a lot trying. but it started out chaotic. So sometimes if your life's chaotic, that's fine. Let's look back at verse 2 here. It says that the earth was without form and void. Darkness was on the face of the deep. Without form and void actually goes back to saying that it was chaotic. It was empty. It was almost frustrating. Before God started creating anything, it probably looked like most of our homes did this morning when we're trying to get ready for church, especially if you have young children. People are everywhere. Our morning was a little easier because we had that extra hour to get here. But, we show up in here on Sunday, we've got everything put together. We come in, I've got my tie, my hair is fixed, I'm fine this morning. Not fine, but you know what I meant. That came out wrong. But our surface self, our Sunday self, looks good. We show up, we're presentable. But what's it like tomorrow morning when we're trying to get to work or school? And the alarm didn't go off in time. Or you hit the snooze button one more time than you normally do. It gets a lot more challenging then. So we've got to remember to deal with those issues. It's not all pretty. It's not all fun and games. I want to try to give you something in this message you can take to deal with on Tuesday, on Thursday, not just this morning while everybody's in a good mood and the right frame of mind. There was a pastor who I was listening to this week, and he shared a story of a man who was in his 60s. So the guy was pretty well established. He said that he had his words were a crazy net worth. I don't know what the guy was worth, but clearly had been very successful financially and in business. Seemed to have it all together on the surface. But when they were talking, he said that he shared of tons of insecurities. He was worried about things. He didn't know what was going to happen. He didn't always even believe in himself, even though hundreds of people who believed in him to run the operation did. And I think that's true for a lot of us. On the surface, sometimes we can look like we have it all together. But just like that guy, sometimes underneath, we're struggling. Beneath the surface, that's where we're going to hide the struggle. I'm not going to walk up here and say, whew, man, y'all don't know what happened last night. I'm going to come in here and act like everything's good, like I've been studying, like I've known exactly what it was, had it all put together. And a lot of people will mask their insecurities with worry. So, well, I'm worried about the stock market. Are you worried about the stock market, or have you not taken the route of actually investing to save for retirement? Or I'm worried about what my kids are going to do. Are you worried about the choices they're going to make, or is the root problem of that you haven't spent enough time with them while they were younger? When we start getting really to the root of them, these are things I struggle with right now. That's why I say I don't have all the answers. Sometimes the question helps you get there. And most of us, though, before we get too down on ourselves, we have it together in at least one area of our life. Something is going good for you. Maybe you are getting good grades in school right now. Maybe you made the team that you tried out for. Maybe right now your spiritual life, you're not under attack. You feel like you're on top of things. You got it under control. Business is thriving. We're all built different. Talking with folks earlier, some kids are extremely athletic. They're really good at sports. Anything they do, they can pick up a bat and hit it. They can throw the ball, kick it, whatever they want to do. Some can pick up any musical instrument out here, hear a song, play it. We're all gifted at something. But if that's true, and this verse is not in the Bible, don't go look it up, it's not there. The inverse of it's also true, that everybody sucks at something. While you're looking at somebody else thinking they've got it all together, everything is going perfect for them, I promise you they are struggling in some area. Something's not right. Nobody's perfect. They're going to be struggling somewhere. So when we look at the day 5 principle here, when God made the fish and the birds, when he finished up verse 21, it says, and God saw that it was good. Which one? Both. And if you're going to take away one thing from this message, please take away this line right here. It says, this means the fish were good, birds were good. This means that we are blessed when we're doing what God called us to do, where he called us to do it. There's a quote that goes around that says, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend the rest of its life believing it's stupid. If God had thrown birds out there and told them to swim in the ocean, they'd have struggled. If he had thrown fish out there and told them to fly in the sky, they wouldn't have made it. We've got to do the same things. Make sure that we're doing what he wants us to do, where he wants us to do it. Some of us will tell ourselves that we're stupid because we're trying to swim in somebody else's sky. We wonder why what we're trying to do is hard for us. We're not in the right place. I'm not even saying like leave the company or anything you work for. Nobody start saying any of that. But maybe it's just the wrong job in the company. You know, we start feeling like we're insignificant, like we're less than, like we're not living up and measuring up to what we need to, but we're trying to fly in the sea. Another analogy I heard from one pastor said that we have too many Little Mermaid Christians today. Y'all remember the movie Little Mermaid? Anybody? Nobody? A few folks. Ariel spent so much of her life wanting to be part of that world. She could see up there. She wanted to come out of the water and see what was going on land. She had not read Romans 12:2, where it tells us not to be conformed to that world. And he went on to use the analogy. He said that God is not King Triton. He's not going to give you legs if he made you for water. He's not going to help you fly if he gave you fins. How often are we praying for things that God doesn't? The reason he's not equipping you for it, he didn't call you to do it. God's not going to equip me to sing. It's not in my ability. You've got to move and operate in what you were made for. Verse 26 tells us that God said, let us make man in our image and according to our likeness. The problem that we deal with today is that so many of us aren't going off God's image. If I asked anyone, child to adult, youngest and oldest person in here, to describe to me what a perfect dad looks like, we'd get a ton of different descriptions. What's the perfect business person look like? What makes you successful? What does the perfect mom do? Is it the working mom? Is it the stay-at-home mom? Is it the one that tries to do both? And we end up juggling a million things. But we start measuring it off of the world's image and not God's. We look at Pinterest and Instagram and say, well, that's what my child's birthday party is supposed to look like. What if your child just wants his friends over there? Her friends, whoever. You know, we think we've got to live up to this hype and set this bar here, and we try to do it, and we spend so much time and so much energy trying to make everything right. And is it really what our kids enjoy? We start telling ourselves, it's got to be just like this. It's got to be picture perfect. We've got to get it just right. We're worrying people. We're spending our money. We're spending our energy. We're stressing ourselves out. And we're not even making everybody, the ones that it matters that it's about, happy. And I'm not saying that it's wrong to do those parties and to do it. I mean, if you've got it, do it. If your kids love it, by all means take them. Let them experience all the things that are out there. I think you don't know if you like something until you actually go get exposed to it anyway. So try it, but honestly, I told them I'm trying to share this without making myself look too goofy, but one of the favorite things that my kids love doing right now cost me $0 and less than 10 minutes a day. And it is so vital. Any of y'all with children won't like this too. We can threaten to take it away or not do it, and they will start obeying. Like if they won't go pick up toys, well, we're not going to do such as, I'll tell you in a minute what it is. And those toys get picked up. Was that him? Right on cue. We just play dragon. At night, before we put them to bed, I know when I stand up here and act like a preacher, try to. But, you know, at the house, I'm called to be dad. I got to move in what I'm made for certain situations. Is that my child literally sneezing while I'm talking? Okay, thank you. At least it's him, so I can't kick him out. But it doesn't cost us anything, and they love it. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go be a fire-breathing monster to some other people and not let your kids have fun and take them places and go do other things. We do all that. But the point is, stop comparing your family to everybody else's. We're comparing what we're doing, our rough draft, our work in process, to what somebody has put through 16 filters and posted on the internet. Most of the time, it's not real. And it darn sure wasn't as fun to actually take the picture. All that matters is that our families are safe and healthy and happy. And your brains are amazing things. Even those of us who did second grade 2 or 3 times. But they were still not designed to handle all the information that the world throws at us. You know, it almost makes me wonder if that's even what kind of prompted Tommy's series. I think he just finished up a week or 2 ago on his mental health series. I wasn't sure if that was brought on just by his studies or if that was from coaching Thomas and TJ on the same basketball team. Y'all really need to pray for your pastor when he had them. But our minds aren't meant to take 24/7 news feeds. You know, we can be connected with people all the way around the world, and we're not connected with people who work down the hall, who live next door. We might be Facebook friends with somebody who lives 2 states away, and we comment like everything they post, but we hadn't talked to the neighbor who's 3 doors down. I'm talking to myself too. Like if I step on somebody's toes, like, trust me, mine have been stepped on as well from studying this. But we get less connected than we ever are because we weren't designed to operate that way. We're working like a bird in a bowl. If you put that bird into a small fish bowl, it can't fly. It cannot do what it was created to do. You're good at what God made you for. Sorry, I read that wrong. I had on here not to read it wrong. You are good in what God made for you. Now, you would think that I should have said it the way I did the first time, but you are good in what God made for you. Ephesians 2:10, if I could turn this giant Bible over, tells us that for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus. We are God's handiwork. We are his masterpiece. He created us. He designed us. He made us exactly like he wants to be. But it's the second part of this verse I want to look at. In Christ Jesus, for good works which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. God already created the works he wanted you to do. God knew the career path he wanted you to take. He knew the path on life. Now, some of us will make some choices that we probably wish we didn't make along the path with relationships and work and school and everything else. But God designed the works. He laid out the path for you so that we could follow it. To truly understand the 5th day principle that we're looking at, we've got to actually understand what God did on the 2nd day. To understand life, we've got to understand the heart and the order of God. God did not make birds before he made the sky. He did not make fish before he made the ocean. So do you really think that he made you, put you in the spot that you're in your life right now, without designing everything around you just like he saw fit? He equipped the birds to fly in the sky that he made. He equipped you to deal with what you're dealing with. So how do we push through those insecurities? There were 3 things here. The first one is to understand that it is a process and not a destination. You know, the first time I ever preached, this is how I can tell I say grown as a preacher or speaker or whatever you want to call me today. The first time I got asked to speak at our church, I hate admitting this even in public, but I picked out it was for graduation Sunday, and most of our folks were Union High School people, so I could have told you a month or 2 ahead of time what suit and tie I was wearing to match those colors. Didn't know the message, didn't know the text, I knew what I was wearing. Y'all know when I picked out what I got on today? Today. Was not real sure. I got, grabbed the tie and the coat this morning. That the process has changed. Will I ever be a perfect speaker? No. Will any preacher ever stand up in this pulpit and be a perfect person? No. It's always a growing process. The second step is that God told you the fish and the birds to fill the waters and the sky. You will feel what you were made for when you stop complaining and start doing. If the fish complained I wanted to climb the tree. God didn't make you to climb the tree. He made you to swim in the sea. And listen to your mentors and not your critics. Or the way there's a quote that goes around that says, never take criticism from someone you wouldn't seek advice from. I remember another time I got to speak. It was another graduate Sunday. It was actually 2020. So all the COVID stuff was going on. Our church didn't have a pastor at the time when I was speaking. And this was one that really gave me insecurities for a while. My wife might remember it because I told her about it. But somebody came up to me after the sermon and said, "That's the most entertainment that I've had in a while." And y'all ain't gonna lie, it messed me up. Like, I started thinking, did I preach? I want people to be kind of entertained, and hopefully everybody's staying awake. Hadn't seen anybody doze off yet. But I was like, did I not? I'm not here to try to make it fun and giggle and laugh. Like, you need some Bible out of this. And so I didn't know if I missed it. Like, did I miss the boat? Did I not? But, this was somebody who I really didn't know. So it finally, after a while, I was able to process it and say, look, maybe they just didn't take it right. But, we can all be insecure, and it can get brought up by things that we didn't even see coming. And you're not going to please everyone. All kinds of different kinds of birds, different kinds of fish. Some taste better than others. Fish, I guess birds are different too. But everybody won't like your style, and they don't have to. That's the thing. You're here at this church because you either feel led to be at this church or you feel that you need to be under Pastor Tom here. There's a reason that you're here. And that's a reason that we have so many churches around the county and the country and the world. Find what worship style works for you. Don't try too hard to make yourself fit in. The friends, the co-workers, the ones who you're like, I really like this person, I wish we could get along, and you just don't force it. You may not have been made for that person. They may not have been made for you. Too many of us are trying to be something that we're not. We live like that bird in a bowl, and we wonder why life's not going like we thought that it should. You're here. You're in church. We are living our lives to be a child of the light, and we wonder sometimes why when we get out there in the world and get around certain people, why the darkness doesn't sit right on us. We've all been in those situations. We're somewhere that you start realizing, I do not need to be here. Something gets said, and it's like, I do not need to be a part of this conversation. Now, I'm not saying I'm strong enough to pull myself away from it like I need to, but you start hearing it's like, should I listen? And, it's a gradual process. You start to learn to walk away from it. Maybe the first time that comes up, you don't say anything. Then you learn to walk away. Then you learn to avoid them. But if you were made to follow God, you're not going to fit in with everything in the world, and you shouldn't. This was an example, and I started to try to get me some props this morning, but I didn't have time. But if what you're living in doesn't fit you, it's not for you. Now, picture, if you would, my wife's a little bit smaller than I am, but if I had on her coat, I'll use a real story that happened. One year at Christmas, Mama got me a hoodie. I put the hoodie on. It was really tight on my arms. I was working out, so I thought, oh yeah, I've hit the gym. This is going right. I looked at the tag. It said large. I was like, God, it shouldn't be this tight. It's a large. Like, I didn't think I've gotten that big. Still didn't know what was going on. Well, we got to looking a little closer. It was a women's large. It wasn't made for me. It didn't fit. I couldn't move. No wonder it didn't work. It's not what I was made for. Some of you out here are made to be an encourager to somebody else. But you want to be negative because that's what gets the most attention. And that's what sells. If you've got something on you right now that doesn't fit, and it could be too small, too big, take it off. You've got to be able to move. Step out of the insecurity. Step into what God's made you for, what He's created you for. How do we know what that is? How do we know what we're designed to be? How do we know what we're supposed to be? I'd say sometimes, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. You spend time with your Maker. Spend time in God's Word, studying it, reading it. There is an answer to every problem in life in this book. Now, it may not tell you if you need to buy a house on Buffalo West Springs Highway or West Springs Highway, but it will tell you what kind of community you need to live in. It will tell you what kind of church you need to go to. It will tell you how you need to steward your money. It won't tell you what job to get, but it will tell you to make sure you have a job that will follow God's will and earn you a living that you can still be generous But oftentimes we get too distracted to let go of what let me read what I got. If we're not careful, we may never fully realize what His hands are capable of because we're distracted by what our hands are holding on to. What could God let you do if you let go of what you're doing now? What is He calling to that if you would just say, I will give this up and pursue this? And it's a hard question. God didn't create the sky for birds to hover. You cannot stick a bird up in the air. You have never, I haven't. Now, some windy days I actually have seen it kind of happen, but normally you won't look up in the sky and see a bird just sitting there like this. What will happen to them? Y'all can talk. Anybody still awake? Fall. Thank you. Make sure I had it right. Gravity, it's real. The bird cannot sit still. Fish, if they sit still in water, my understanding, if somebody's better at science than me, I didn't do real well in biology. But if you hold a fish perfectly still with no current in water, they will drown. They've got to be moving to have that water flow through their gills to help them to breathe. The sky wasn't designed for birds to hover. The seas weren't formed for fish to just float around. You've got to move in it. You've got to be moving in what you were created to do. You can't just stay still. So if you want to know what God said, if you want to know what the one who created you has planned for your life, what was prepared for you in advance, this is the season to begin to move in your water, to fly in your sky, to control the atmosphere and the environment that you're putting yourself in. Because I can promise you, I have a whole lot more, and people who are around me throughout the week can tell you, I'm a lot happier and more believing a lot of times on Monday and Tuesday than I am by Thursday and Friday. Monday and Tuesday, I've been in church. I've been able to read. I've been able to relax. I am excited. I'm coming in gung-ho. By the end of the week, time, schedules, trying to think of a church word I can use, crap, has worn me down, and it just gets heavier and harder to move and fight and keep pushing. But you control that atmosphere. Stop listening to your critics. Stop listening to the people. And it might be our own self. I read something the other day. The problem with most of our attitudes is not that we listen, it's that we listen to ourselves. We don't talk to ourselves. Now, don't everybody go out here and start talking to yourself. Too many people think you're crazy. But don't listen to your critics. Don't engage with them. It was a pastor I heard share it, but he said, don't wrestle with a pig. If you do, you both get muddy, and the pig likes it. Be a prince, not a pig. In closing and thinking about the principle of the fifth day, it reminded me of the prodigal son, where he came to the realization, he's back, he's gone off, he's come back home now to his father, he's out there working with the pigs, working in the slop, and he begins to realize, I wasn't made for this. This is not what I was called to do. My father has hired servants. I'm not supposed to be here with the pigs. And you may be thinking that right now today too. I was not made for this anxiety. I was not made for this stress. I was not made for this addiction. I was not made for this bitterness. There may be something you're dealing with right now. This is not what my lot in life. But whatever you're going through, do know that your Maker has designed it. He's ordained it. He's still there. Life may feel like a mess sometimes, but remember, that's how the whole world started. So when it's messy, just remember that God planned it all out. We only see the pieces. We don't get to see the full picture. God knew what to make on the second day so that what He made on the fifth day would have a place to live. He knew who to let walk out of your life, walk away, so that who was walking in would have a place to fit. He knew what opportunities He had to take away, to remove, to get out of your life so that when the right opportunity came, you would be able and willing to take it. God often calls us to move from glory to glory and strength to strength. And I know for me personally, I'm willing to bet for somebody else in here, a lot of times it is an insecurity that holds you back from following Him. From letting go. Yesterday, this is my last illustration. I'm going to be done. We're about 11:45, so we'll get done by 12. I've talked longer than I meant to. We were out there opening day for baseball, throwing baseballs to some kids. Thomas went to play on the playground, and I watched him going across the monkey bars. Proud to say he made it across. First time I ever saw him do it without any help. But you cannot get to the next one without letting go of what was behind you. If the fear of what's next is there, you won't let go. You'll hold on and you'll stay right there where you're at. Overcome the insecurities, move in what you're made for. Let's pray.
Thank you once again for tuning in to our live broadcast here at Putman Baptist Church. As always, we appreciate you being a part of our service from wherever you choose to watch. But we want to let you know that if you should ever have any questions about what you've heard in the morning's message, or questions about how to be saved, to know whether or not you're going to go to heaven one day, or you'd like prayer or anything else, we would love to hear from you. Just because you're not here in the building doesn't mean that you're not still part of this fellowship. So please, feel free to give us a call. You can reach me on my cell phone at 426-3706, or you can call the church office, or send us a message right here on the church Facebook page, and somebody will get in touch with you very soon. Thank you again. God bless you, and hope you have a great day.